Hey, what's up everybody? Today I'm going to be walking you through how to create an empty MCC mission with ACE3 for use with Zeus and MCC. To get started, if you go to your editor and pick the map that you want to make it on, in this tutorial I'm going to be using Takistan. Once you get into the map, you're going to want to save it right away. Right off the bat, you're going to want to save it. Save it as something that's going to be easy for you to tell what it is. So we'll say M3 SFG MCC template. So that's pretty easy. 3 SFG MCC template. You don't want to use spaces or periods or anything like that. Just use the underscores and then hit OK. And now you'll see 3 SFG MCC template. And you want to be set to the single unit and then just place down a blue 4 infantry. Actually, it doesn't matter the faction or anything like that, but you just want it to be a person that's a player, and that'll give you the ability to hit the preview button. So then you'll hit preview. Okay, so once you're loaded into the game, what you can do from here is use your scroll wheel to access MCC and hit the login button. And then click on Zeus and click on the map here and it'll open up Zeus. Now, from here you can fly around and you can scout areas and you can find where you want your base to be. Takistan really only has the airfield here, which is where we're going to place it. So to do that, I'm going to use an add-on called Ares, which is a Zeus extension. It gives you things like these compositions all down the side here. It also gives you some modules like the AI behaviors and the teleport modules and some other things. Well worth it. If you don't have it, I definitely recommend going out to get it. It's a small download and it's well worth it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down this OP tower, and this is what's going to act as our FOB. So if I place it here, you hold shift and click and drag to rotate, and then to move it, let's try that again here. Rotate and then to move it, just put it there. There we go. And then what you'll want to do is you want to check it for any funkiness, and I already can see right here with this HQ building, you can see that it's way lifted out of the ground. So we'll just go ahead and click on just that, hold down Alt and drag, and you'll see that it takes it down, and then let go, and now it's set where we need it. You can check for any other funkiness, like this one here is the same way. So we'll just hold Alt and drag it down, and you see that it resets it there. That one's okay. Look for any like H barriers that might be floating, anything like that. If the net is floating, like right here, you've got these ones here. So click, it's right there. Hold Alt, click, and drag. And that'll set it back down to the ground there. So everything else looks pretty good. That looks like it's about set. You can put down vehicles as well. So I'll just go ahead and drop a helicopter real quick down here. And I'm just trying to do this kind of quick so that I don't want to spend hours, putting the base together, which you could do. It gets a little addicting. So we'll just go ahead and put a vehicle down there, and then we'll go ahead and exit Zeus by pressing Y. And let's say that we're done. Let's say that that's it. That's all that we wanted to do. If you scroll back into MCC and you hit the Save Load button down here in the bottom right-hand corner, you get Save MCC SQM. What you'll want to do is click that and then Alt-Tab into a text editor, and then what you see is object saved to clipboard as SQM file. So I'll close, and then I'll Alt-Tab to my desktop. Okay, and once you're back on your desktop, you'll want to open up a text editor, and I use Sublime Text, definitely well worth it. New document, Control V, and then this is all of your mission data that was copied out of MCC. So now that we've got that saved to our text editor, we can head back into game. Alright, now that we're back in game and we've got that all saved, we could escape, save and exit, and then what we'll do is exit out of here. And once you get back to the main menu, again, you're going to want to Alt-Tab back to your desktop. Okay, once you're back on your desktop, you've got all of your mission data here that was saved through MCC. So what you're going to do is go to your computer, Documents, you have Arma 3 Other Profiles, and then you'll have your profile listed here. You'll click it, click Missions, and then here's where you have the missions that you did. This is the one that we were just working on as a MCC template. That one's an earlier one, but we'll just do this one here. And then open the mission SQM file. Now in here you'll have some things that look very similar to what you copied and pasted from MCC. The only difference is with the MCC, it contains all of the information for everything that you place down. So if you hit Control A and Control C, again, just to copy it over again, and then in the mission SQM, Control A, you can delete, and Control V, now you have all of that pasted in there. And you hit Control S to save. Now you can close all of this stuff out. You don't need to save that. And now we will go back into the game. Okay, so now that we are back in game, you'll go back into the editor, back to Takistan, or to whichever map you are doing this on. You hit the load button and you'll load up the mission that you were working on earlier. And now if you look on the map, it's got all of the objects that we had placed down right here on the map, right where we put them, and that's how you build your FOB for use in one of these missions. The next thing that you'll want to do to make the mission halfway playable is going to the markers tab, which is this one right here, and then finding where you want your players to respawn at. So for instance, if I want the players to respawn here, I will put an empty marker there and you name it respawn _ west, and then OK. So there's our respawn west marker. So that is telling the game, or we will write in the file later, that that's where it's going to be, that's where the players are going to be respawning at. So now that we've got the respawn marker set, it's time to start putting our modules down. So we're going to be using ACE3 in this, so we want to put down a few ACE3 modules. So you use the modules tab here and double click, and then we'll go to the ACE modules. Generally I do use the check PVOs module, but I'm not going to be using it here. We'll use advanced ballistics. So we'll enable advanced ballistics. I disable advanced ballistics in full auto, and the reason that I do that is because when advanced ballistics is enabled in full auto, the server has to calculate the advanced ballistics for every bullet that's leaving the gun of every player. So disabling it in full auto really takes a huge load off of the server. And basically only enabling it for snipers. So you basically only enable it for the people using the scopes that are available with the advanced ballistics options on them, which are, I believe, the vanilla scopes, like the LRPS. So we'll go ahead and say OK. So the advanced ballistics module is now down. And then we'll double click and we will put on the, let's see, we'll put the hearing one on for combat deafness. We'll put on the interaction system. We'll put on the map illumination. That means that the illumination of the map changes based on the lighting conditions. We'll say yes. Shake the map when you're walking, yes. Limit map zoom, no. And show cursor, no. And the show cursor just doesn't show your grid on the cursor. Normally, just to the left of the cursor, to the right of the cursor, you'll have your grid pop up. The show cursor won't do that. Okay. Let's see, what else should we put on here? We want the respawn system. Save gear, we'll put yes. Remove bodies, yes. Okay. That means when you respawn at this marker, you'll have your gear on. We'll also put on the weather. I turn both of these off because I let other things manage the weather, but I'll turn the weather propagation and ACE weather off, but leave the sync on. And then wind deflection, I leave that off. Okay, so that'll be it for the normal ACE modules. Next we have the medical modules. My unit, we use the advanced medical system, so I changed both of these options to advanced. Turn the litter on, but I turn the time the litter is spawned down to 120 seconds. So the literal base, the litter is the bloody bandages and stuff that show up on the ground. Those will hang around for 2 minutes and then they'll disappear. Player screams, no. Player damage, I actually turn that up a little bit to 1.2. I disable AI in consciousness. Remote controlled AI is yes. Prevent instant death, I set to yes. What that does is that always gives people a chance to be revived. So it always moves you to unconscious before you die. And all of this stuff stays the same. Bleeding, pain, and sync all stays the same. So now the medical system is active. Next up that we're going to do is advanced medical settings. We want the advanced medical system enabled for players in AI. Reopening of wounds. I don't know if it was fixed yet, but there was a bug with it to where if you had wounds that did not reopen, it caused some issues. So I always leave it on. It adds for an interesting gameplay when you have it enabled. It allows the medics to utilize surgical kits and prioritize wound treatment and things like that. So I prefer to leave it on. Vehicle crashes, yes. Allow pack medic only, that is a personal aid kit. Remove pack on use. I set this to no, and there's a reason behind it. Right now there's an issue with ACE to where if you take a certain type of damage, what it can do is it'll bruise your legs and it will cause you to be unable to run. You'll basically just be stuck walking. You won't have any injuries and there's nothing that a medic can do to it. The only way that you can fix that is one, you can have a medic shoot you in the leg and rebandage your legs up. That tends to fix it. But that tends to break immersion as well because a medic is very rarely going to pull out their pistol and shoot you when you're injured. So the personal aid kit will set the player damage to 0, which restores their ability to run. So that's why I have that set to no. Our medics use it very sparingly, and they'll only use it in instances where everything else that they have attempted has failed. So that's why I set that to no. Condition of pack. Now this is interesting too because you can set this so when can the personal aid kit be used. I have it set to stable, so that means that the patient has to be stable. They cannot be bleeding before the personal aid kit is used. So you have to at least stop their bleeding before you can use the personal aid kit. And then locations of pack, due to the bug, I set that to anywhere. The surgical kits, remove surgical kit on use, I set that to yes. Locations of surgical kits, I still set that to anywhere. And condition of surgical kits, I set to stable. So again, the patient has to not be bleeding. They need to be stable before you can use the surgical kit. The surgical kit will remove itself upon use. What that allows the medics to do is to decide when they actually want to use the surgical kit. Because if you're only carrying 3 or 4 of them with you, you're not just going to stitch up somebody's scraped arm. So it gives you the ability to do that. Bandaging removes blood stains. I set that to yes. Again, there was an issue with it being set to no, to where they believe that may have been linked to the type of damage that was causing people to not be able to run. So I've just always used those settings. And pain suppression, pain is only temporarily suppressed, not removed. I set that to no. And then okay. So now those are the advanced medical settings. The next module that you're going to want to put down is the module to set medic, or I'm sorry, we'll go to the revive settings next. Max revive time, I usually put this up to 500. So, and then enable players only for the revive. This will give a player the ability to be unconscious for that amount of time before they die. So that gives a medic 500 seconds to get over to them. And we'll move on to the set medic class is regular medic, and you hit OK. And we'll just place that down there for the time being. We'll do something with that in a minute. And medical facility and medical vehicle. Since I use the surgical kits and the personal aid kits anywhere, these are kind of obsolete, so I never put these down. However, if you did have the advanced medical module, let me go to the advanced medical settings. If you had this set to vehicles and facility on these, when you are in the set medical facility, is medical facility, when you place this module down, what you can do is you can take the sync here and you can sync it up with a building. And then what that will do is that will designate that building as a medical facility. So if you have that module set so that you can only use surgical kit or personal aid kits inside of a medical vehicle or facility, you would have to be inside this building in order to use those surgical kits. Useful if you do anything with medevac or anything along those lines. I have them set to use anywhere, so I don't actually use that module. Same thing with the set medical vehicle. I have them set to anywhere, so I don't use the medical vehicle module. Let me look through here. I believe that is all that I set for the ACE modules. Yeah, that's all that I set for the ACE modules. Don't use the ambient sounds. So those are the ACE module mission settings. The next module that I'll put down is under MCC, and you have the access rights module. What the access rights module does is it limits the access of MCC to the unit that it is synced with or an admin. So you have to be logged in as an admin in order to use MCC. This is optional. You don't have to place this down in order to use MCC. It's just if you don't have this module placed, anybody will be able to access the MCC console. So you can either place it or not. I will place it because I'll show you how it works. The next module that you can place down under MCC, I've actually used this one before, is the Gaia module. You can set the AI skill, uses smoke, all of these things. I'll just put that down and put that right up there with the MCC module. And you can organize these however you want. All you need to do is just have the module set, and you can click and drag them, and you can organize them. People like to make shapes with them and silly stuff like that. And the next module that I will put down, I will show you how. I don't think that I'll actually put the TFAR module down on this, but I will show you how it works. I usually turn these to off or to no. What that'll do is that'll stop the task force radio from giving you a radio when you log in. You can set a channel name in your TeamSpeak. So if you have a TeamSpeak channel dedicated to task force radio only, you can actually set the channel name here along with the password. And what that'll do is when you log in, it'll automatically move you into that channel. That way, people who are not using task force radio can't join that channel and start talking over everybody and everything like that. I'm not actually going to put this module down, but that's how that one works. So now that we have all of the modules down that we're going to be using, we can start putting down our players. So for me, what we have is we have an ODA structure. So we have 4 people in the detachment headquarters positions. So we'll start with the detachment commander. So we'll put him down. We'll just put down a rifleman. Some people may mess around with the ranks. I don't, because it doesn't really have any of the ranks that we use, and it doesn't give you the ability to set a custom rank. At least I don't know how to do it. So then for special, we put none. In description, we'll put detachment commander. And what the description is the text that shows up in the multiplayer selection window to let you know what that spot is. In the initialization field, I'm going to type in this What this line right here does is this stops it from becoming an AI and moving around. Some of you may have seen it before, where the AI just kind of runs around the map if the slot gets bugged or something. This will stop that from happening. So then we hit OK, and now we have the detachment commander here, and you can shift and click, and you can rotate and have him face however you want. And actually, I'm going to double click on him again to open him back up. You want to change it to playable and not player. So we'll hit playable and OK. And then we'll go ahead and do that for the rest of the Okay, so now that we have our detachment headquarters positions placed, we actually want to start placing down the teams now. An ODA will consist of 2 teams of 4 guys, plus the 4 detachment people, so it's 12 people in total. So what we'll do is we'll actually go ahead, and we can do it a couple ways. We can actually click the group, and we can place down a blue 4 NATO infantry fire team. We can actually place it down like that, and then if I hit here, you see that it kind of moves them all over the place. But I'm actually going to do it a different way, to where we'll just place down, just like we were doing the riflemen, we're going to put the same thing in here, and then here we're just going to type red team, because this could be any red team position. And again, I don't want him to be grouped with anybody, not yet at least. And then we'll move him, and we'll face him towards the commanders here. And then if I just Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V. So we'll copy him, and then playable, red team, so that's good. Again, playable, and red team, okay. And this last guy here, playable, red team, okay. Now, I do want these guys grouped together. I do want these guys to show up in a group. So if you click on the groups, and then you click on the middle of the guy, of one of the guys, and drag him to the first person that you placed, that will actually link him to that person. Do that for the 3 other people, and then what that does is that actually gives you one group. So in the multiplayer selection screen, these guys will show up as Alpha 1, 2, or however they show up in there, but they'll show up as one squad of guys. The last guy that we need him to be a medical sergeant, because we have the medic class set, so we need a medical sergeant. So we'll name him as medical sergeant, and then there is a init line that I needed, but there is a bug right now with the join in progress function of the medic. So I can't just take the set medic class and sync it to our medical sergeant. I do need to do that, but there's one more thing that I also need to do. I need to double click on him, and then I need to put this init line into his init initialization field. So this set variable ACE medical medic class 1. So what that's doing is that's telling the mission even furthermore that this is a medic. If I didn't do that, you'd be able to join in and you'd be able to join the slot as a medic and you'd be able to function as a medic until you disconnected or until somebody reconnected into that slot. Then what would happen is you would no longer have the medic abilities. So you have to have this init line in the initialization field for it to work. So now what we'll do is we will highlight those guys, Control C and Control V, and we'll take them and we'll change them to playable, and we'll change it to blue team. Okay, so now we have those guys all set up. We have our detachment commanders, or our detachment headquarters. We have our red team, and we have our blue team. So those are all 12 of our ODAs. Now, another thing that we want are possibly pilots, or if you have any other units that you may want to put down on the map, that's the way that you do it. So for instance, I will just demonstrate by doing we have a designated marksman team. So we'll say striker. And again, it's going to be this disable AI move. Okay. And him, we don't want him grouped with any of these guys. And we'll copy it. Oops. We will copy him. Try that again. Copy him and paste him. And then double click, set that one to playable. Okay. And then we'll take the group and we will group these two together so that they show up as the same in the same squad at the multiplayer selection screen. Now we'll do the same thing for, we have a TACP element, which is Razor. So we'll do the same thing for them. Put him down, ungroup him, Control C and Control V, playable. Okay, and then again, we do want these guys grouped, so we'll group them. Okay, so now we have our full ODA, our striker team, our Razor team. Now we need a couple pilots, so we'll go ahead and put down playable, NATO rifleman. And these guys you can even set, them to, be closer along the lines of what they actually are. So if you set them to a helicopter pilot, and we'll say Night Stalker is what they operate as. And again, I'll just copy that. And we do not want him grouped with anybody. We'll face them in. And you can tell which way they're facing by the little arrow that is rotated along with them. We'll put 3 pilots in. Change them to playable. Playable. So that gives us the 3 pilot slots, and we'll group these guys up with the first one that we put in. So they'll all show up under one unit as well. Okay, so that's pretty much all of our people, except for our Zeus operator, our MCC operator. So what we'll do is we'll put another guy down. I'll change him back to a rifleman. Again, the unit class doesn't really matter. We'll make it playable, and I'll actually change his call sign to Ares, and we'll put that there. Ares is the call sign that we use for our MCC operator. We'll ungroup him, and we'll rotate him here. And then what we do is we take the sync, and we sync the MCC access rights module with the Ares unit. So now, when you are in this player slot, you will have access to the MCC console. You will be able to be booted out if somebody logs in as admin and attempts to connect. Admins always override whoever's synced up with this module. Okay, so that's all of our units there. That's all of them. The next thing that we'll need to do is we'll need to have a way to be able to gear up. So what I'll do is I'll just put down an arsenal box for our virtual arsenal. Oh, that's right. I'm actually glad that happened. Interesting note: in order to get to the empties, the empty units, which are like the boxes and structures, you have to have an actual player down. So now that I have a player down, because all of these guys are just playable, they're not a player. Now that I have a player down, I can double click, and now I can get the empty. And what I'll do is we'll go to ammo, and I'll just grab an ammo crate here. You can actually do it with anything. We could go to objects military, and we could open a box and place it down here and move it to where we want it. And then I'm just going to Alt-Tab to get the init code that I need. So now what we could do is double click on it, and in the initialization field, this is the init code that I'll put in, and hit OK. And again, I'll put this in the description of the video so that it's easy for you to copy and paste. But now this box will act as a virtual arsenal. So when players load in, they can run over to this box, and it'll give them the ability to get their loadouts and everything. Now that we have that set, I'm just going to delete the rifleman. And that's pretty much it. That's it for the 2D editor, at least. That gets all of our units down. We have the respawn set. We have a virtual arsenal for people to gear up. All of our modules are placed. I'm trying to think if I missed anything in here. I don't think that I did. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and click on the save button here. And what that does is that saves everything that we have here. And next thing that we're going to do, I will see you out back on the desktop. All right, now that we're back on the desktop, you can go to your computer here, Documents, Arma 3 Other Profiles, your profile, Missions, and then you have the MCC template that you were working on. And again, in here, the only thing that you have is Mission SQM. But now if you open it, this Mission SQM is going to be significantly longer than it was when we first pasted all of the MCC data into it. And that's because now it has the arsenal box that we placed, it has all the units that we placed, it has all of the modules that we placed, all in this file now. So a few things that we're going to do. You have all of these things with the Intel, and we'll go through those in just a little bit here, because you can set the mission name and some other things, which I actually forgot to do earlier, but we'll do that in a few minutes here. But you have all of these things here, so that's all that you really need that for. And the next thing that you're going to do is create a new text document. and you want it to be description.ext. And then it's going to pop up the extension. Are you sure you want to change it? Yes. If you can't see your file extensions, if you go to View, and then you go to Options, Change Folder and Search Options, and then View, you want it to, right here, there's a check mark that says Hide Extensions for Known File Types. If you uncheck that box, like mine is unchecked right now, if you uncheck that box and hit Apply, it'll show you the extensions on the files. That way you can change them to be the .ext, the .sqf, or the .sqm. Next, you'll want to make another new file, text document, and you'll want to call it init.sqf. And then, yes. Okay, so in the description.ext, when you open it up, I actually have prepared a file here. So I'm just going to take and copy this, Control-C, and paste it into here. And I'll go through and explain what everything here is. So loading screen info. So the author is what shows up on the author box while the mission is being loaded. The onload name is the name that shows up on the mission box while the mission is being loaded. The onload mission is a description of the mission that shows up while the mission is being loaded. And the load screen equals loading.jpg, which I actually have here, and I will bring that, let me copy it here and paste it into here. Loading.jpg, it's just a very simple JPEG image. That's the image that shows while the mission is being loaded. Then we have the respawn options. Respawn equals base. This part here, this is what tells the mission that when you respawn, you are to respawn at that marker that we made, that is the respawn_west. Base automatically knows to respawn you there, so that's why it says base. Respawn delay is the number of seconds from when you die to when you respawn. Respawn dialog is if it will display any kind of dialogue when you respawn. Mission options. The one that's very important here is the disabled AI. If you do not set disabled AI, when you load into the mission in multiplayer, it will give you the option to select the AI as AI characters as opposed to them just not loading. And this is for the playable units that you put down. So setting disabled AI will set it so that only players can control those units. Debriefing, show GPS will show your GPS if you have one on the map. Debug and admin. Enable debug console. This gives you access to the debug console if you are logged in as admin, so you get access to the camera, to spectator mode, different things like that. Corp removal manager. This is just the corpse limit that's allowed on the map, when it removes them, how long it can be on the map, things like that. So we'll go ahead and save that and close. And the next thing up is the init.sqf. In the init.sqf, now I closed out the one that I had. The init.sqf here, I'll just take and copy this here over to here. This task force arrowhead portion, what this does here, TF no auto long range radio, this means that when you spawn, it will not automatically assign you a long range radio, something that's pretty annoying. TF give personal radio to regular soldier. This will give you, when you spawn, just a regular, I believe it's an ANPRC 152 radio. Disable saving in multiplayer, obviously false. Enable saving is false and false because you don't need to save. I'm not really sure what this does. I've always had it in my init SQF file, and so I leave it in there. Remove all gear from player and add what you need. So what this does is this says if player is indeed a player, then do this. So what it'll do is it'll remove all weapons, it'll remove all items, all assigned items, it'll remove the uniform, the vest, the backpack, headgear, goggles. And then what it does is it adds in, or it adds to you, force add uniform, so it'll add a uniform. It'll add a headgear, add items, assign the item, so it'll add you a map, assign the map, it'll add a GPS, it will assign the GPS, it will add a compass, and it will assign the compass. So what that does is when you load in, you don't load into the default rifleman loadout that it has. It loads you into that custom loadout that you defined. So we'll save that and close that. And so now we have the description.ext, we have the init.sqf. If you have a loading.jpg, or a loading image, the dimensions on that are 512 by 256. So if it's something that you wanted to design yourself, you could do that. And then you just place it into your folder. So now that we have all of that stuff in there, we can load the game back up. Okay, we're back in the game now, so we'll go to the editor, back to Takistan. And we'll load up the MCC template that we were just working on and hit OK. So now you'll see it's the same as we left it with all of our units, all of the modules, everything. Before we get into anything else, we're going to go to Intel, and then here's where you can set some little kind of nuances of the mission. So you can name it. So we'll just say 3SFG Pakistan MCC template version 1.0. And then in the description, you can write a description, a blank MCC template. Here's where you can also set the weather. So we'll say we don't want it to be overcast. The rain, we'll set it to manual. The lightning to manual. Again, we don't want it to be overcast. Or I guess it just sets it to auto if you adjust the adjust that. The wind, I'm going to turn the wind down. You can turn it to wherever you'd like, but we'll just turn it to about right there. Independents are friendly to OPFOR. I like doing this because I like using the insurgent factions to fight against. So I set those to friendly to OPFOR. That way they'll actually attack us. You can also set the forecasted weather. So what that will do over the course of 4 hours and 15 minutes, or you can set the duration of the change. So if you set it to 4 hours and 15 minutes, what it'll do is it'll roll that weather to the forecasted weather over the course of those 4 hours and 15 minutes. I'm just going to go ahead and leave that down. You can set the date, the time. So if you want the mission to start at nighttime, you can set the time here to be wherever you'd like it. If you'd like it to start in the afternoon or in the morning, set it to wherever you like. Let's set it to 5. We'll set it to 5:20 a.m. and we'll hit OK. So now that we've got that set there, we can click on the Save button. And what that does is that saves it there. And then if we click on Save As, and then drop it down here, export to multiplayer missions, and hit OK, what that does is it moves it from the Arma 3 Other Profiles directory into your main Arma directory, which should generally be in your Steam folder, under the MP Missions folder. And you'll notice that you'll now have a PBO that is named this. So what we'll do is we can test it really quick by exiting the editor. We'll go to Play, Multiplayer, New, that's fine, okay. Takistan, and then we have it right here, 3SFG, Takistan MCC template, version 1.0. So we'll click it, change it to veteran, and we'll hit play. So now you'll see that we're loaded in here, and we have all of our units that we had put down. So the detachment, assisted detachment operations, and assistant operations sergeants. We have the red team, we have the blue team, we have the strikers, we have the razors, the night stalkers, everybody. So now, one thing that I did notice that we'll go back and change is it doesn't say red team medical sergeant or blue team medical sergeant. So that's one thing that we'll need to change. So what we could do very quickly is just go back. Cancel. We'll go back to the editor, back to Takistan, and load MCC template, and we'll go look and try and find out why we don't have. See, so okay, so we have it set there, but we just didn't put it in the description, which I thought that I remembered doing, but I must not have. So there we go. So we name them, and then we can hit save again, and then save as, export to multiplayer missions, and OK. And then again, exit the editor. All right, back to play, multiplayer, new, OK. Takistan, we'll set it a veteran. 3SFG, Takistan MCC template, and play. And then now we have the medical sergeants listed. So you can notice that you can jump into any spot that you want. We'll jump into the medical sergeant spot, and then we'll hit OK. And then you see that it comes up with the loading graphic that we designated, the name that we designated, the author that we designated, and the description that we designated. Okay, so you can see that we are on Takistan. Click continue. And you can ignore the pipe error 6, it's just because I don't have my TeamSpeak on. But you can see that it put me into the gear that I had asked it to in the init. So we have our whole base here that we set up, and we can come over here, and there's one thing that I didn't notice is that it's actually inside of an H barrier, but nonetheless you still get the arsenal box here. You can load the arsenal, and you have your loadouts all set and saved. You can close, and you can come around, explore your FOB where you have it set. You can see that the helicopter that we had placed is there. And also I'm admin right now, which is why I do have access to the MCC, but if I was not admin, I wouldn't have MCC on the scroll wheel option there. And then one more thing that we will test to make sure that it works. We'll come out here and we'll respawn. And there's a 5-second countdown, and we should respawn with our gear right back at the marker where we told it to. So that is how to create a blank slate MCC mission template with ACE3. I hope that you guys found it educational. If you do have any questions about anything, please post them down in the comments. I'll include links to the resources and everything that were used in this. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next go around.